it's very, very bad. But security forces will investigate and get to the bottom of this matter so that such an accident never happens again.
But investigate, has there been any such fire incidents that have been investigated to conclusion in this country, and there were many?
All the fire incidents have been investigated, but I think what happens is a lot of things happen. And just because we didn't hear the result doesn't mean they have not been investigated to conclusion, because we live in a dynamic society where there are so many things occurring at the same time. So I believe they have been investigated, and those who need to know have been informed of what they needed to know, and precautions have been taken. And I think that's why for a long time we have not been having fires.
Oh.
Yeah.
Adupa, what do you make of this? You have been a journalist, and I think if my recollection served me well, you were a journalist when some of these fires had become very rampant, and now here we are again, a terrible one to these visually impaired children.
Charles, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to send my own personal condolence to the families that have lost their children, their dear loved children. Charles, you see, it is very sad. It is very sad indeed that these are children that are very vulnerable. And I want to tell Ugandans and the world at large that police should find out the cause of this fire. You said I've been in the system of these kind of issues before, and you find at the end of the day, the report of such incidents, they don't publicize it outside for the members of the public to know what has happened. First of all, these are children that are already vulnerable. And when you look at the cause of the fire, it must be a very serious, substantial reasonings to make us not know that it is not human error. Otherwise, to me, I think there is human error in this matter, and the police should not give us this scenario of that we are investigating, our finding will come out, so on and so forth. But I am very sure that there should be an element of human error in the cause of that fire. Because somebody who is already blind to tell me that maybe he or she has gone and done this and so on. And the main switches, these people have guides. When they need light on, it is switch on. When it is supposed to be off, it is put off. So I urge the Uganda police force to do what it takes to give Ugandans a clear accountability for what has transpired at the school. It is sad indeed. These are people that may be other things, they are vulnerable, they are less important in the society, but this is the future of this country. We have started seeing of late people who are not, one of them almost made it to Yela. You remember, Honorable Nani, it's called who?
Ambrose.
Ambrose almost made it to Yela.
Ambrose
Mulangera almost made it to Yela. We are sure that in next years to come, we may have somebody who is blind but can be a member of parliament, can either be even a speaker of parliament or a head of this country. So we should stop playing with life. Where has humanity gone as a country? You go and set fire to such innocent Ugandans. So we need to think about such kind of things. We don't need story. Uganda Police Force must give a detailed investigation of what caused the fire.
Ibrahim, you as a chairman, do you have such fears about because we have had at one time we had rampant fire situations in this country. And I remember there was one time when police sent out a general alert and a guideline to all schools and public places what should be put in place. And I think schools had to be redesigned, dormitories, and without burglar proofing. What type of situations, what type of measures have you put in place in a place like your district to guard against some of these kind of things?
Thank you, Odongtho. I would like to join my colleagues, Adupa and Professor, to send out my condolences to the families of our young people who have lost their lives in fire. It is so painful. We share the pain they share. We pray God receives them and heals the hearts of the parents who have lost their kids. Before I get to what we have done in Luengo, it's important to talk about this act. This act has all hallmarks of an act of terror. If you listen to what Professor said, that a window was broken and then possibly petrol powered into the dormitory and fire ignited. This has all hallmarks of an act of terror. As we call on the police, we should call on to the most elite investigators in the country to go to the depth of this and really bring out the cause of this fire and hunt for the culprits and ensure that they are brought to book. I have heard from some circles, informally, that Princess Anne was supposed to visit that school. It is a school that has been receiving aid from the British monarch, and every time, even when Prince Charles was here, now King Charles, he visited the school, and now Prince Anne, who is here, he hosted the national chairperson of the NRM at the British High Commission for dinner. She was supposed to go and visit the school to see how to further improve it. And the competitors, those who don't wish the school well to progress, those who don't wish Uganda well, may have had a hand in this fire. This is something that wasn't an accident, for sure. And the true cause of this inferno should be established and culprits brought to book. Fire is not something new. Fire in schools is not new in many of our schools. The most prominent was the Vodo dormitory school fire.
It was also which claimed the lives of also children.
Yes, and many of our schools had the same, and instructions and guidance were given out by Uganda Police Force and government. But Charles Odongtho, Ugandans are funny. The Ugandans we lead, the Ugandans we live with are very funny. You can be sure during the surge of the COVID pandemic, when cases were really at their peak, we used to wash our hands. People used to put on masks. People were so observant. People were really into it. But today, I'm sure if you put out there a jerrycan of people to wash their hands as they enter into any office, you'll find people just enter. Now the resurgence of the Ebola pandemic is the one reminding people that you have to wash your hands. I have gone to many offices today, and you can be sure the sanitizers that they had placed onto the doors and the entry are empty. They no longer have sanitizer. You who is watching, just go to any office, try to touch it and see if there is any liquid. They are now dry, completely dry.
You know that is happening even in government offices?
I didn't want to talk about government offices, but at least you have...
I move a lot to government offices, and yesterday I moved to...
Thank you very much. Can we continue with this one?
I was going to say 3 big prominent places, but let me save it for now.
I hope you won't begin with UBC. Let me.
Not UBC.
Ugandans have given up and left their country to God, and they say God for us all.
That's sad.
It's really sad. Today, if you visit the schools in Lwengo and you check their level of readiness to respond to a fire, you will be shocked. Most readiness actually is in private schools, but the government schools, I doubt they are really ready. And for every incident that happens, it will shock us as the first. And if you try to talk about it and push harder, you'll be singled out as a perfectionist, as a Puritan, as a person coming from Mars. But as leaders, we must keep talking, we must keep push this message that as you pray to government, as you blame government for whatever happens, what have you done to ensure that you protect yourself? Because prevention is definitely better than cure.
Okay. Honorable Babu, I even I feel chills in my body to just even suspect that someone could have done this. I don't know for you. Is it possible that this could have been malice or terrible accident, in your view, from the look of things?
Thank you very much. No matter what you say, this is a national tragedy. Let us not even consider it as something small. It is a national tragedy. It's a shame to our people. And we need not to give up of these people who have lost honesty and humility. Indiscipline seems to be destroying all of us. We keep on saying we cannot do it. We have to pray to God. No, I refuse. I'm saying the Minister of Security, the Minister of Internal Affairs should find out exactly what went wrong by using all the security organs they have to find out. And so that we can know. I don't want to start stipulating, or I don't want to start saying this happened, because I don't have the facts. But 11 children died. And these are vulnerable children. Children, we are trying to convince our parents that we can make them have a good life. Now, persons with disabilities, we want to give them a chance so they can live within our society. So anybody who did this, if there is any, is unfortunate. And this indiscipline we are talking about is everywhere. And I am sorry, but I am not going to give up. We must fight it. Why do you give it to indisciplined people? Why do you give up? We've got everything to our resources we can use to stop this indiscipline in this country. And we should start with the schools, and we go on and make sure we don't have this indiscipline. Now, there are people who have now become clever Alex. They try to pretend to be indisciplined. I was looking at a program which showed people cheating people on the street. And I'm happy today when I read in the newspaper they've all been arrested. So our police has the ability to arrest people. So I am saying the Minister of Security, Minister of Internal Affairs, who are in charge of the security organs, to make sure that within the shortest possible time they tell us what happened. I don't want to speculate. Let them go and find out. And if possible, nab these people. What is happening in these schools, which are being run privately, directors are fighting among themselves. And this is what they do. But I read somewhere in the newspaper that some security people who went ahead of the princess who was going to visit warned the school that they could be sabotaged. Is this true? If it is true, let's find out a little bit more. Luckily for us, we have good people who are very well trained, and let's get away from our differences. Let's work together to make sure this kind of thing doesn't happen again. My brother here was talking about the code of conduct of schools. They must have fire extinguishers. They must not lock these children in. They must have people who are looking after them at night. All these things must be done. And if the school cannot have them, close it. Close the school.
Is it possible that blind children sleep without any person who is able to?
Well, I don't know. This is what I'm saying. We should check all these things. All these things should be investigated. because the PWDs must be looked after better than even the others. But there is a school in Mengo here at Barintuma Road which looks about the worst kind of PWDs, and they have people who stay with them at night. So I hope this can be the same here. But what I'm trying to say is this. Please, I don't want to hear that we've lifted this to God. No. We must fight these people. All those people who have no discipline, we must bring them to the fold. If we have failed to give them discipline using the systems we have, let's open up national service. Everybody attends it. We will get some better people. Enough is enough.
Good. Captain Babu, let me start with you on the topic of our topic of the day, transition debate. Is it transition, whether it is succession? You know, and as we were coming in, I kept thinking about the topic we were going to discuss. and my mind went to 2 or 3 things. One, my mind went to the recent funeral of the Queen. And then she was larger than life for 70 years reign. But she has children, she had children, or she has, then grandchildren, then great-grandchildren, and the children are not only, there are a number of them. And then I looked at, you know, the succession expectations, the possible succession lines. If the Queen died, that's how it goes. If the Queen died, then Prince Charles, who is now king, takes over. If Prince Charles does not take over, there must be Prince William. If, you know, and I was saying, oh, this is for sure certain. Then, which others? I thought also about Tanzania, and the Tanzanian one is quite interesting. It also showed me how, at one time, Benjamin Mkapa the late, who was a journalist at one time, then I think foreign officer, he was planned to take over after Al Hassan Mwinyi, and then those plans were there, and the Tanzanians somehow knew, the cadres knew within the system. And let me start with you, Honorable Babu. You talk so well, nicely, very smart, and someone would have thought we should know that after President Museveni there should be this person, after this person there should be Captain Babu. But you guys fear to discuss these things. Why?
Who fears?
You people.
Who people?
Including Honorable Babu representing the other colleagues. Don't you?
No.
Oh, you don't?
No.
So tell us that you don't. And what, is this the right time?
No, discussing what? Because first of all, you talk about transition.
The debate
and you stop
is
there.
transition.
The word is
transition. Is it the right time?
What are you talking about? Transiting what? Transition from what to what? Because transition is to move from one point to another point.
Yes.
So what are we transition from? I think all of us are a little bit confused.
Oh.
First of all, we go and pick up models and systems of government that we don't understand. Right? We had our, I was listening to a very interesting story, and I'm going to give it to you.
Please.
It was by Tom Mboya in the 1960s.
The Kenyan guy.
The Kenyan guy. And he was saying, the European democracy is all right, but our people are based on communities. And we have never really taken up the community's part. You're now telling us about a democracy. How do we make your democracy work with our communities? Are you with me? So what is happening now? You have gone and copied people's systems and models, and you're trying to use those models to try and apply them to your community system. So you go and sit down and make a constitution, which it's a copycat. It is virtually a carbon copy of what the people have done in other countries. Now, we're in a situation where you even copied the 5 years as the term limit. Then you copied the age limit. I don't know where you got that from. And then you come here and you change them.
To
none of them. They are not longer there. You've thrown them in the dustbin. The question was, were we ready for those terms? Nobody seems to answer those questions. We seem to be looking at symptoms. The people in this country, they've had the president for 30, I don't know how many years. So those are what you're counting. But what is the issue? What is the issue 35 years? Or the issue is for us, we copy the model that doesn't seem to work for us. Now, I know you are now getting excited because we are getting to the real reason.
No, I'm learning.
Now, here we went and copied the system. When we were doing our constitution, we had a model where people were elected without parties. And then we said, no, let's leave that one.
Individual merit.
Yeah, let's now go to multi-parties. By the way, let me immediately tell you that we don't know how to use those multi-parties. We think they are grounds for us to fight. We've not understood multi-parties, and it's going to take us some time to understand. Now, here we have a situation where every 5 years we've had elections. From the time we changed to multi-parties, we've had elections. People have competed, somebody has won. Okay? Technically, when you win after 5 years, you're now transitioning from the first 5 years to the next 5 years. That's a transition. Another 5 years, you have another elections. Elections are done, somebody wins, you go transition from that 5 years to the next 5 years. Now, the problem is this. Whether those elections are done correctly or they are done wrongly, people have gone to court, contested, and they've been told, no, this guy won. For us, we are satisfied. So, that goes another 5 years. You have another election. Now, what you are trying to say is that this model we have, the way we are changing our leaders, is not good enough. Because as long as it is a multi-party, and you also have elections, whether rigged or not rigged, or whatever it is, the person who wins automatically becomes the president for the next 5 years. Is that not so?
True.
Now, when you are saying, when people are talking transition now, they're saying, no. Although you have won for so many times, time is for you to stop now. We don't want you to compete anymore. I mean, then you are going against your own system. You're going against your own model. The party has got a winning candidate. Am I going to remove my winning candidate and bring a candidate who's not going to win? So that is another problem. Now, I understand where they are coming from, by the way. Don't get me wrong. We've had a system that has continuously given us the same person for all this time we have had elections. How do we change that system? So that maybe for some reason the other group can also win. Should we go to the other system? What do they call it? Proportional representation? Should we change the model? Or this calls us to change the whole constitution? Do we need a constitutional review on this issue? Now, these are questions that we must answer, because the way people are bringing them up and they talk about transition, it's like, please, time has come for you to allow us, so please go. Let's continue with a different group. Now, is there anything in the competition which says I should give you way? So these are questions we must answer. And I am saying, yes, the system we have has allowed the same people to stay in power all this time. The question is, what is our
intention.
What can we do about it? Because we have the model. Must we sit down and go back to our constitution and find out how this can work? Or can the person who are in power be kind and say, look, I think you guys are right. I've been here for too long. Let me allow Kitata to take over. Now, that's completely
Is that the hardship?
Yeah, that's a personal thing. Yeah.
Is it a personal thing or a group thing?
You know, it's a
Because you are under a multi-party system.
No, because if I'm the president and I've been winning and I can come next time and win, you are telling me that I should not continue. I have to agree.
How about if that debate is within the party? Let's imagine
Now,
in a football team,
yeah,
11 people are saying,
I'm coming.
we are
coming
winning,
I was coming to that.
but we are getting stuck a bit.
In the constitutional review,
That number 7, is he not tired?
let me tell you what I was going to tell you. When we are doing our constitutional review and we make a law to make parties, we could, as a country, say the parties cannot give us the same candidate more than so many times. We could do that. If it is a nuisance, you make a law because there is a nuisance. If it is a nuisance, then we could say that parties should not represent the same candidate more than 2 times or 3 times. So it remains to the parties to give us a different candidate. Now, that is something we can discuss.
Is there any example of that around the region?
Oh, most of the European parties, they're the ones which remove their leaders. For example, like right now in Britain, the Conservative Party has removed their
That one
leaders.
now, don't give us an example.
No, but yeah, but that's the hallmark of democracy. You know, Africans you Africans love. In Britain, they do, even in my court is made in London, in England.
We African, not you African.
No, we. Okay, we are.
This one is emancipated.
I'm emancipated from those habits.
We African.
This thing of Britain, the United States, those are the hallmarks that you quote.
You like quoting.
They're the benchmarks. Now you can see what is happening in the Westminster system of government, where the parliament, members of parliament can change a prime minister at will.
Without going back to the people.
Without going back to the people. Now, that is one system. The Americans, theirs is also becoming very hot in recent times. You are talking about age limit here. The American president is virtually approaching the century. So this whole thing, this whole thing now is we must sit down, and let me tell you, when we are doing our constitution, we must look very deeply. What is it that we want?
Okay. Let me bring in Professor at this point. Honorable Babo has really turned upside down the whole thing. My question was a direct one. Is it time to discuss the transition, the succession debate? Should we have it now? Or now, like Honorable Babo has said, we need to have other discussions. What are those other discussions, Professor? Are we not asking the right question that we should be discussing now?
Yes, thank you very much, Charles. First of all, I listened intently to the comparisons you made and the examples. And it is interesting that you compared the Queen's succession with what happened in Tanzania. 2 different systems, a republican system and a monarchy. You selectively refused to compare in the same context the peaceful succession of the Queen and the turmoil we are seeing in the republican system, in the state. So you have the monarchy, you have the state. So you, even within the same context, you're having 2 scenarios which are a problem. Now, if we go back to the question of whether it's the right time to discuss the transition, I mean, in Uganda, the first obvious thing would be, isn't this question even late? I mean, last year people discussed the transition. They discussed, from maybe 2019, they discussed this transition, they had their primaries, and people had the opportunity to actually change if we are taking the transition from what Captain Babu said, that moving from one stage to another. So there was that opportunity, there was that discussion, and people decided the way they decided. So we are waiting for 2026. There's going to be another discussion. Do we change? Do we move? Do we stay where we are? So as a question, I think the question is late. It was already overtaken by events last year. But having said that, I think we need to be also careful. The discussion, the contemporary discussion around transition seems to imagine that there is a particular template which has certain parameters which must be fulfilled for there to be a transition. And as long as they are not seeing that, so we must begin discussing transition. As I said, we discussed that last year. But having said that, there is no particular template on when is the right time for people to discuss or when is not the right time for people to discuss. I think society can decide and choose to do what they can do. But if we are to simply go back to one of the key thinkers we had in the past, one thing that Karl Marx said many centuries ago, but which is still pertinent to us today, is that every society has its own internal contradictions. So some models may move from A to B and they work. Some models may move from A to B in the same way and not work. And how did Karl Marx come to this? At that time is when he was talking about the historical and the dialectical materialism, where he talked about the prime movers of society being relations around class, around labor, and around socioeconomics. I know these days it has been diluted in development think to refer to political economy as issues of interests. But beyond that, what Marx was inviting us to look at is what are the things that move a society from one stage to another. You need to look at the classes, the socioeconomic classes. You need to look at the relations, the economic relations within that context. You need to look at how labor is organized, and you need to look at that. So those are the things that produce internal contradictions within a society, and which sometimes create the shifts that you see in a society. Now, as we discuss whether it's ready to move from stage A to B in Uganda, we need to find out what is the Ugandan society like. What are the parameters in that society, okay? And we are not going to theorize for Uganda the way you do in a scientific laboratory experiment, where all factors being constant, this should cause this. So we create an experiment and we put in this and then you remove that and you expect that. And in a controlled environment, that can work. But in society, unfortunately, societies don't move like that. Human beings don't move like that. Today I have certain sets of interests, tomorrow I have different sets of interests. So mine would be that we should not just jump onto the bandwagon of transition succession because of the Queen, because of Samia, President Samia next door, and the rest. What we need to do as Ugandans is to say, what does our society look like? What does our society need? For example, we have a very big youth bulge. If the statistics are true that 67% of the population is aged 15 years and below, that is a ticking time bomb for all of us, not just the leadership. Because also what the World Bank country diagnostics showed a few years ago was that 67%, most of them are not skilled, not employable, and many of them also not schooled. So, and because of advances on the public health side, immunization and the rest, they are going to leave. They're not going to go away by infant mortality and I don't know, under 5 mortality and the rest. So these people are going to grow. How are we preparing them? Of course, if we don't prepare them, we are going to have a problem, okay? So I think the debate around transition, if we start that debate by saying what are the internal contradictions in our society and focus on addressing those internal contradictions, we could actually transition from low income to middle income. Maybe that's the transition we should be talking about. But the debate is yours, and for me, this is my take on it. But my view is let us understand the society we are living with, let us appreciate the internal contradictions within that society, and let us work around those internal contradictions to come out with a model that Captain Babu has just talked about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. She has even expanded it now to, it might actually be a debate of the income level, so that we shall, not the political one. Honorable Kitata, I like the fact that you have accepted, and we are really privileged that you accepted to come for this debate.
Thank you.
As a chairman of the, in other districts they call them the president of the district. Yeah. Recently you were involved in this debate as well. And your take was that, you see, this youth, and especially this thing of, we don't need now to, the fact that we have decided to debate, let's even refer to them. The young people, especially those who support General Muhoozi, who are saying that for us we want a clear roadmap for succession, for transition debate. We want it debated, and it's now a non-fact. We can no longer hide it. And then for you, you said, no, for us we are happy with the status quo. And then you went ahead and you said, I think alongside Mitoma, then I saw in Chigezi, where was it, in Kabale? It was Mitoma, I think, not Kabale, there is another district, and then Luengo. That for us, Ruchiga district, yes, Ruchiga district. And you guys are saying, for us, we are happy with the status quo, let it remain as it is. We don't want this debate. So tell us and share with us, transition or not transition? What kind of debate should we have? Like Professor is saying, what is this? Are you reading the Ugandan demographics to insist and block the discussions around these transition things to be opened up, from being opened up, and you're saying, let's remain where we are?
I would like to appreciate the contributions of our seniors like Captain Babu, when we were promulgating the 1995 Constitution. Elite Ugandans in 1993 converged in the Constituent Assembly to give rise to what we call the grand norm, the supreme law of the land. There was some copy and pasting. When you go to chapter 4, the Bill of Rights, there was some copy and pasting, and I want to agree with what Captain Babu said. And amongst what was copied and pasted into chapter 4 was freedoms of association. The freedoms of association call on Ugandans to associate with whichever group they wish to freely, without hindrance. Actually, these fundamental freedoms are said to be inherent, not granted by the state, enjoyed by merely having a right. Once you are alive, you enjoy them and you live by them. And one of those freedoms of associations is a freedom to choose who to lead you. The question of who should lead Uganda between 2021 to 2026 have been settled by the people of Uganda in an election that took place in 2021. And that's none other than General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. They tell us that some societies prepare for the next crop of leaders, but many societies prepare for the next generation of people. Ugandans have taken a deliberate choice to campaign 24 hours, 7 days a week, 28 to 31 days a month, 365 or 4 days a year, 5 years throughout the campaign office, because the campaign time, because the offices that give people leaders have immense power on the lives of the ordinary Ugandans. Everything that happens in the life of an ordinary Ugandan is attributed to a weakness or strength of a leader. The National Resistance Movement and the Constitution of Uganda have settled that debate. That debate is given emphasis and priority every 5 years. Every 5 years, Ugandans go to the ballot to choose who to lead them. Some people have chosen early campaign. We don't want to blame them, but we would like to submit our advice to them that the NRM government right now has a campaign manifesto that we sold to all Ugandans, a manifesto that has to be implemented. Today, as a country, we have very many challenges. We are aware that we fell into the abyss because of the COVID pandemic. I was going through the statistics. We lost about $1.2 billion in tax revenue in the 2020-2021 financial year. We are trying to come back. In the last financial year, 21-22, we lost about 570 million. You can check. You can see that if we are to rebound like that, in the next 2-3 years, we may get to what we call optimum in collections of revenue. I begin from revenue because as an economist, as an accountant, a CPA, without incomes, you don't discuss expenditure. But we sold to Ugandans a program of expenditure. But it goes with hard work to bring incomes. Short of that, we shall mortgage the country. We are sitting on a time bomb. If we must continue to pay salaries of our staff, if we must transform this nation to get it to the middle income status, if we must build the roads that we need, we have very good tarmac roads, like the road that goes through Ruengo, but we have challenges in other roads that connect people to the main roads. If you're to go through the road from Katovu to Keikorongo as you go to Sembabule, you will not imagine you're in Uganda. But the only question that we need to answer is a question of resources. These resources need a sober president who knows what he's doing, and we need to allow the head of state, the party chairman of the NRM, the president and his state apparatus to concentrate, look for these resources and invest them where we need them to have the transformation that we need. Succession as a topic is very exciting. It is very exciting to talk about because many people want to live in the future, especially when the current is not giving the answers that they need. People have been saying, you know, they won't come back, you know, and they are creating unnecessary anxiety. You know, anxiety is not good. And we in the Politburo and those who discuss this politics at our level, you must move in to address this anxiety. Professor was talking about contradictions. Some contradictions are solved by allowing them to grow until they reach a time, then the contradiction bursts and the solution is found. The answer to a contradiction of pregnancy is either a termination of the pregnancy or looking after the pregnancy until the full time of 9 months, until the baby comes out. But once there is the process has begun, you must either quicken it or give it its rightful time. So we, the Bazukuru, you know, there is the Bazukuru movement, the grandsons, the granddaughters of Muzei, with our national coordinator, Namyalo Hadija. Recently, after she had been appointed at the office of the national chair as the senior presidential advisor, they ganged up, went, met her, and told her, we are unable to see our judge, but go and tell him we need him in 2026. At least I'm a witness to that, and I saw it. We don't want to blame them. We will have gone against the constitution that gives them their right and freedoms of assembly as long as they do it lawfully. But we are saying that we must first concentrate. We must look into the fundamental challenges affecting us. Let's work on the roads. Let's work on the electricity. Let's work on the schools. Let's expand our health centers. Let's answer the other questions that disturb the ordinary Ugandan every day. And if our balance sheet, the statement of income and expenditure works well as NRM at the end of the 5 years, we shall have no doubt all the reasons to say, may Jaja come back.
Okay, one of the contradictions, you have rightly ended it there, as NRM. And one of the contradictions that is now coming out is that actually within NRM, there are people now, especially the young people, and one of them is here, Adupa, and I want now to bring him on board the discussion. For them, they are thinking otherwise. I don't know. Adupa, tell us, are you on the right, or on the same, you know, are you on the same trajectory as Kitata, that no, we don't want this debate, or we want this debate to go on? Actually, it should start and even be beyond what Professor is saying, that just about income levels and growth and, you know, socioeconomic transformation. What's your thinking?
Thank you very much, Charles. First of all, I am privileged and happy to be with Honorable Francis Babu. I started admiring politics those days when Honorable Babu and the rest of clear-minded Ugandans were in the August Assembly. Those of the late Jacob Olanya, those of Ben Wacha, those of the late Kuli Park, the Wapaka Bulos. Then Francis Babu was one of the very clear, conscious member of the House, and I have got high regards for him. Responding to my brother, Chairman Kitata here, you see, Charles and other Ugandans, we cannot run away from the truth. When you're a witch, and you are told you're a witch, you cannot run away until the community declares that indeed Odongtho is not the witch. So discussing succession and transition, in fact, we should be discussing succession. We should not be discussing transition, because there has been transition. As Honorable Babu has said clearly, there has been transition. Ministries have changed, cabinet ministers. In the party of NRM, we have changed secretary generals. That is transition. Parliament have changed speakers. That is transition we are talking about. Prime ministers, we have changed. So we should be talking about succession. Who succeed the whole man? That is the issue here.
But why should we be discussing that?
Now, Professor says that there are so much contradiction within ourselves until we realize what we need as a country. You see, Charles, another Ugandan, and my fellow panelists here, there will be always a complaint in the society. We are like in a kind of a miscarriage marriage. That is where Uganda is. We are in a miscarriage marriage. Year in, year out, there is a miscarriage. And when there is always a miscarriage, there is that old woman that has been accused of being a witch. That's why your wife is not having a child. But they don't refuse to try. They keep on trying. Maybe after this we can hold this baby, and finally the baby will be delivered. Forgetting that the old witch that they have been complaining about is still alive. Is able to perform the traditional rituals and so on, and you will not have the baby. This is what we are talking about in this country. Chairman, I want to disagree with you. We are struggling with 3 steps of politics in this country. We are playing the politics of the preceding past. We are playing the politics of the present dominance. That is where Chairman Chitata belongs. you belong. I think Professor could be belonging to that politics. We are playing the politics of the emerging future. The youth below the age of 30. That is the politics of emerging future. Where did we go wrong as a country? This is what we should be looking at. Where did we go wrong as a country? The preceding past refused to pave way for the present dominant.
Is this the group of the Honorable Babu?
That is the group of Honorable Babu. The preceding past, they are still within. They don't want to leave. Neither do they want to be told that, look, gentlemen, you have been a very good dancer here, but there is time that you need to leave the floor. Because we have been training Odongtho behind the curtains, such that he can also dance. Somebody said, no, you young people, you need to listen to us. We are the only people who have new tricks, and we have learned how to dance the thing for over 30, 40 years. So first being here as we teach you how to dance. That is the proceeding first. They are within. Now, unfortunately, Chairman Kitata, the present dominant, from 50 to 30, are here. You see, this is our time. Whether you like it or not, we need to get a space, and we move forward as a country. Before the present dominant has taken shape of the political dimensions, the political arena of the country, the emerging future is knocking. Say, no, gentlemen, if the preceding past has eaten your space, it's none of our business. We have come. And Prof is a professor, and I have high regard for her. She will tell me this. No, we are here. We are not the reason why you did not take up your space. For us, we are saying that this is our time, the future belongs to us, and we should think about our own future, not you thinking about our future. Therefore, we are saying that so and so becomes our leader. Are you seeing where the problem is coming from? 3 stages of politics in Uganda. That is where our problem started from. Now, in the same vein, because people are now in a political dilemma where they have lost tracks and direction, some people think now and said, okay, after all, what do we have to do? Let us now accept the devil we know, and then the angel that we don't know.
Okay.
That is where Chairman Chitata comes from.
So he's just also desperate.
It is desperate move, because even if you do what, we have nothing to do.
Okay.
I support the party called National Resettlement Movement. Before that, I studied the politics and the context of multi-party system. The multi-party dispensation we are talking about. And I watched the last interview by His Excellency, my national chairman of NRM. He made it very clear and said, NRM is a movement. Chitata, mark that word.
Movement, multi-ideological movement.
NRM is a movement, not a political party. So when you are in a movement where the direction is brought to you that we are taking southwest direction, is a movement. You just move as a army, as a troop. And in a movement, the commander is always right. They say that when a commander makes a command, no division, no objection, you first take the order and complain later. Swali baadaye, lakini umefanya kazi ya commander. That is where we are having a very big challenge. Now,
Let's first go for a break. I want us to take a break, and when we come back, we will open up now the real debate. Any of you feel free to interject and disagree with respect of each other, and of course I will be moderating, and so that but enjoying it already. This is Behind the Headlines. Let's take that break now.
So, I'm here to announce that the MTN Kampala Marathon is back. And this year, we are running for babies. To be clear, I am not talking about a baby. No. And neither am I talking about to be baby. I am talking about these small dollars.
Run for babies in the MTN Kampala Marathon on Sunday, 20th November 2022. Dial *165 *77# or use the Momo app to register.
The Ministry of Health informs the public that there are confirmed cases of Ebola in Uganda. We, however, urge the public not to panic as the situation is being managed. The Ministry of Health further reminds the public to be on the lookout for any persons who may show signs and symptoms of Ebola. These include high body temperature, abdominal pains, diarrhea, vomiting, bleeding from the body openings such as the nose, eyes, and mouth. Please inform the nearest health worker immediately if you see anyone with these signs and symptoms. To prevent Ebola from spreading further, please take the following preventive measures: regular washing of hands with water and soap, avoid handshaking and hugging, avoiding any contact with any suspected Ebola patients. Any person who dies suddenly should not be buried but reported to the nearest health worker or LC1 immediately. For further information, please call the Ministry of Health toll-free number on 0800-100-066 or send a free SMS to your report on 8500. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and World Health Organization.
Do you need data collection services, data analysis and reporting, monitoring and evaluation systems? Then contact Mold Technologies, a professional research firm that has provided many organizations with timely research solutions for over 15 years. For more information, visit www.nt.co.ug or call us on 0704 913 399 or 0782 602 963. Visit our office in Kampala at Sayuni Complex in Tinda. Mood Technologies, your professional research firm.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello? Hello? This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions, and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number, and you send it to her chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Tofera, refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Did you know that a cashless, secure and convenient lifestyle is possible with Airtel Money Pay? Pay for your goods and services in the following simple steps. Dial *185*9#. Enter the merchant ID. Enter the amount. Enter payment reference, for example, school items. Please enter PIN to confirm. You will receive a confirmation message for a successful transaction. Airtel Money. Instant, secure, borderless.
Welcome back from the break. This is Behind the Headlines this Wednesday, the 26th of October 2022, the last Wednesday of this October. My name is Charles Odongtho, and we are having a discussion on the transition or succession. In the studio, we have the Honorable Francis Babu, we have Mr. Kitata Ibrahim, we have Mr. Adupa Felix Ongwech, we have Professor Sarah Sali, we were expecting the Honorable Paul Omara to join us. He has not managed to make it this far. We don't have information how far he has gone. Adupa, I needed to bring in your colleagues, but just finish your point when you were, before we went into the break, I interrupted you, and I need to give you 1 minute to finish that point where you talked about we have the 3 stages or groups of, stages of politics, and that is where the conflict actually, or the main contradiction is, and that the debate should be had now.
Now, thank you very much, Charles. The proceeding past should accept that the present dominant and the emerging future has taken up the space. It was late.
But are they not supposed to follow the Constitution? Like Honorable Babu referred to the Constitution, that there must be a certain structure, and that, like, again, tying it to what Mr. Kitata said, which has also been, a lot of times echoed by the President, that must we engage in politics from the time elections are finished, we get back to politics again, or we should encourage and sensitize and mobilize our people to engage in socio-economic activities. Of course, it is right, legally it is right for people to discuss politics, but must we all the time be politicking?
Charles, when you serve food, and after children finished, then in about 10 minutes, you see them back in the kitchen. We have grown up where there is potatoes, there is cassava. You see them finish food, and about 10-15 minutes, they are getting inside the kitchen and coming up with cassava in their hand. It means that they are not satisfied. It means that the reason why Ugandans keep on engaging in politics year in, year out, there is something which is not satisfying the Ugandans. And that is the debate you have brought, talking about the succession. Now, let me summarize it.
No, quickly, just in 30 seconds now.
In 30 seconds. The constitution that Honorable Francis Babu is talking about, yes, we have a constitution. It has been amended. Other parties are happy, other parties are not happy. Constitution is like a law. It should not make people happy, by the way. We make laws not to make all you happy, but you have to follow it. So where we don't think it is not making us happy, we said, okay, can we work on it? And that's why the age limit came, the term limit was also removed, because there were a certain group of people who are not happy. I have brought an amendment in the constitution and say that no, let us look at another way of managing this country. Can we shift from a presidential system of governance and we come to a parliamentary system of governance? Instead of the Ugandans start discussing this matter objectively, others have started even abusing one another before interrogating the document, before even seeing what is in the document, before even discussing it broadly. They have started discussing that you want to bring more.
Okay. That is another, we need to discuss that honestly, and where references are needed, you can refer to an example, but for me, we look at the issues as they are. Professor, you were itching to respond, you know, especially I find the three groupings or the three levels, Adupa called them the proceeding past, the Honorable Babus, and then he says, for us we are the present dominant,
and then the dominant present, and then the emerging future.
Present, the emerging future.
Emerging
the emerging future. Yes. That the emerging future are now the ones who are saying, please move, you the current dominant, you need to move and push off the babus, you know, they are the proceeding past. Is that true?
Yeah, thank you very much, Charles. I think one of the, I know he makes a very interesting classification, and I would be interested in knowing his sources for that.
He is the source.
And is he the source, or has this been tried somewhere? I would love to see a country where people are just saying, old people give way, because the younger people we have arrived in the current world today, the present dominant. Because I know there have been cases where the youth have pushed revolutions, but they have pushed them around issues, okay? Like, of course, we had the Arab Spring. I mean, people didn't have economic opportunities, someone's merchandise is taken, and there's anger around that, okay? So, even when we are mobilizing youth anger, what are the issues, okay? And if we could address those issues, it would be interesting. And one of the things I would like to ask us, what is the role of a political system? Politics is not just about people occupying spaces, but a political system should guarantee interest, should guarantee opportunities, should help us get what we don't have. In certain literature, it is actually around organizing economic interests. So we should not be aspiring for politics for the sake, and I think, unfortunately, in Uganda, politics, although at all campaigns everyone claims that they are going to bring development, people occupy space. Again, because of the way our society is wired. We have just recently finished the Mwalimu Julius Nyerere
discussion, the dialogue.
I mean, birthday. I mean, we celebrated 100 years. If he had lived, he would be 100 years today. And it was a great opportunity of bringing younger people together with the people who lived with Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, and we put them on podiums like this. And the younger people's charge at the old people is, you have bequeathed us with nothing. You have left us with nothing. You have not given us skills to engage. And the older people were saying, who gave those skills to us? We developed interest in the societies we lived, and we had Uganda, there were around 15 countries from, the delegates were from more than 15 countries of Africa. Cameroon, Burkina Faso, everywhere. We were here, and in Kampala. And so the debate was to the younger people. Who gave us the opportunity, the charge, who gave us the responsibility when we were younger people, who gave us the skills to run these countries post-independence in the 60s? And the encouragement to the younger people was, get interested in the history of these countries. Get interested in their affairs. Stop sitting and just feeling entitled. These people are in our spaces. Entitled. They should get away. They have been in this path longer. Give way so that we occupy. So this should help us to go beyond the discussion of personalities and say, what is the role of politics? How ready are we as younger people to deliver on those things that politics is supposed to do? And of course, leaders do emerge. If people are well formed and people get the spirit of their societies very well and the needs and articulate them well, they will actually emerge as leaders. And that should help us stop sitting and wondering, so should it be Charles, should it be Sarah, who should be coming, what does the queue look like? I think this is over-politicizing things which are basics. And by the way, we are only focusing at one level. We should actually be having this debate all over. But the issue is, let us ask ourselves, what is the role of politics? And younger people, what is your role? What is the anger about? What is it you want to deliver? What are the core values? And politics has never been about move and I occupy. Politics has never been about that. It has been about you demonstrating a capacity to lead a group of people. Because we are told a leader without a following is simply taking a walk. So can the younger people do that? But most importantly, tell me a country in the world where we have this debate and say, okay, because we are the biggest demographics, those who are in the minority, please give way, because it is our time. And by the way, we should remember being young or being a youth is not a permanent state.
No,
it's not a permanent identity. It is a transitional identity. Thank you.
Honorable Babu, you... sorry I made you raise your hand so much.
You know what? The professor has excited me. Because she's saying exactly...
The role of politics. What is it?
Political science is the management of society. Very simple. You can make it wider than that, but that's basically what it is. The internal contradiction. She used those words, and I'm very grateful to her. Uganda as it is today. Let's stop talking about symptoms of people who are looking for jobs, employment. Because here, politics has turned into job employment for those who don't have work. Let's now get back to the country. What are our major problems? Starting from 1894, when this country became a protectorate, what were the problems that have been building up to where we are now? This is where our problem is. As she said, we've refused to look at our country. Let me take this opportunity to tell everybody watching us, as Uganda, we are not united as a country. We are not united. These guys went to Berlin, they drew lines and put us together. Even when they were here for 70 years, they never put us together because they used something called divide and rule. The divide and rule was done in many different ways. One, they started with our tribes. Secondly, they brought religion. Then thirdly, before they left, they brought something called multi-parties. We are divided in different levels. Those divisions are creating a big contradiction within our country. Our culture. You know what people don't realize, before the white man came here, we had a culture, we had our institutions, we had unwritten constitutions. Our country were being governed. They were being governed in a certain way. You might not like it, but it was there. And therefore, I would like us... I don't know what it is.
Yes, Honorable Babu.
I would like us to be very careful that what you are looking at, the small symptoms that have come from our bad setup as a country. We have refused, we have got this amnesia. We don't know where we are coming from and where we are going. That historical amnesia is causing us a lot of problems. And therefore, I would like to kindly ask everybody who is in this, who is interested in this country, to stop looking for political jobs and stop for a moment. What is it that we want? For me, what we want most now is to unite this country. Even the Europeans, before they went into democracy, they first united their countries. Then democracy came. Democracy works on societies that are united. We need to sit down and think about this. Now, when we finish with that one, you now find that all these things we are talking about, the indiscipline that is in our society, is because we have refused to understand ourselves. Yeah. We have refused. We have refused to follow the norms. Madam was talking about socio-economic. Our socio-economic is about to explode. We are having problem in that area. My friend is talking about, nowadays when they are 50, they are calling themselves youth. Even the definition of youth has been thrown out of the window. No. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights talks about not segregating anybody with their age. And therefore, if we are members of the United Nations, and we have Ugandans talking about removing one group and bringing another group, that is totally unacceptable. What we need to do is to create a situation where this country understands where the problems are. We have problems that our mindset is looking at the present, not where the problems are. And we have stopped even our culture. We have destroyed our culture. By the way, Africans have got better culture than these people we are copying from. Our culture is rich. We have, when I said we should look at the Constitution and review it, I meant it very seriously. We should go back. For example, let's look at all our people in this country. They've got certain cultures. And among all those cultures, there are some common values. Values that we could unite and make this country have a national value. We are talking about political parties that do not have a basis. In the 1950s, when they all started by coming on a unitary level. They did not look at even our communities. And therefore the war started. That war has never stopped. In 1960s, that war, the country went apart. All sorts of things happened. We are still paying for that problem. So, if you want to get this country going, first and foremost, we've got to understand where this country is. What is it that we have to do to bring bring them back to the center point? He's talking about training people. You're talking about Tanzania, which is very good. But what the Tanzanian man did, that great man Nyerere, he did one thing: he united that country. And he lost everything. He lost the economy, he lost everything, but united the country. And not only united, he trained young people and trained them to become leaders. In fact, to show you his power, at the time when Mkapa and Mrisho were competing to become presidents, he stopped Kikwete and said, let this one go. You will go next. Right? Now, that shows that there was an anchor on which the country was anchored, because it had come from this rather difficult past of the Germans and being a trustee territory and being exploited, and therefore having a man called Mwalimu Julius Nyerere. Now, what we need to do, and I hope the ones who are in leadership are listening, can we unite this country? Can we therefore get our people to understand, even the younger people have to be trained to go into leadership? And how is it done? Well, this country had started very well. We had different groups: the Youth League, the Women League, PWDs, everybody. There were leagues, and these people were being trained to go into leadership. Somewhere halfway, people sabotaged some of these things, and they never went ahead. Okay. But it was a great idea because you could have used these leagues to train your people.
Okay.
Now, what they are talking about, that they want a new group, they want a change, which I've just heard a few minutes ago, you will not get a change until you have a good system that can give you that change.
So when does the good system come?
We have to work for it.
Exactly.
We have to sit down and work out a way to have that system. But if you remain with the present system, hey, nothing will happen.
Okay, you know, there is some, I like African sayings, like you refer to them as well. There is one, I think, from the, I don't know whether it is from somewhere in in West Africa.
Yes.
That when you see, is it the frogs? Is it the crocodiles? I think there is some reference there. Out of the waters in the hot sun, then you know there is something after them.
No, when you see a frog running during daytime,
yes, out of the water.
Either a snake is chasing that particular frog, or that frog is chasing something. That is an African.
Whatever the saying is.
And there is.
Do you realize? And someone referred to anxiety. I think Mr. Chitata. My worry now, Honorable Babu, and you guys can respond to it, also in reference to what Professor said, is that we have reached a point, it appears, where this anxiety is now building and building and...
I was going to come to that.
Now, and that's why for me, I like the discussion, topic especially. Is it the right time? So these people who are very anxious, and they are a big number, and if it is true, their number is growing, don't we run a risk of going back to where she feared, that in some places on this continent, the people who are the majority, and whether they are trained or mentored or mobilized or not ready, they said, get out. What do we do in order to ensure that that does not happen?
She mentioned the socio-economic problems we are having today. And let me tell you, if you go to a household in this country today, they are extremely annoyed. And if you took the actual saying that an angry man is a hungry man is an angry man, we are now all angry. And that, it does not segregate whether young or old.
We are all
hungry and angry.
We are all hungry and angry. Now, that is where the problem...
There must be an answer to that.
That's what I'm coming to. You see, we are looking at the economy. You're talking about transition. I am looking at my household. How much does the matoke cost? How much does unga cost? How much does millet cost? I am now talking about where do I get fuel to cook? Where do I get, ingredients in my house?
And they're not seeing that.
That is where the explosion is going to be, not because people should move out of space. No, our stomach is going to dictate.
Mr. Kitata, do you know that this cause of anxiety is what you are not addressing?
And
this group of yours, he has put me in the same classification, but let me for now, because I'm a moderator, refuse to be part of that group and stay on my own.
No, it was an example.
I will also...
you are in that group alone,
I will also...
Now, let me even illustrate. I challenged some youth this week when we were, I think it was last week. I challenged them and said, they are youth who have been engaging me. And let me be honest, they belong to the youth, the kind of Dupa, that group who are saying, we must discuss these things now. We, the Muhozi young people, we are coming with our votes. And I challenged them. I said, are you ready? They told me, how do you want to see us ready? And I couldn't answer.
We are not in parliament, but the parliament is governed by the parliamentary rules of procedure. Adupa is out of order. I'm not the custodian of the rules, but you as speaker.
What did you do to...
You have used the analogy of the frog.
Yes.
There is another analogy of the frog. When you go past a riverbank or a lake per se, the frogs will be the biggest noisemakers in the clan of those who live near terrestrial waters. You may think they are the actual kings of the waters, but the real kings of the waters
are quiet.
The day, a moment, Adupa. Hold it. Please hold it.
Out of order.
Hold it. I'll give you time. Hold it,
okay,
my brother.
Hold on. Just hold on. You will have time.
No, when you are put out of order,
I may need protection from you, Charles. Adupa is one out of order because the question of who leads this country has been a debate that has been lingering, and it was settled. It was settled by our laws promulgated by our parliament, which we all believe in as natives of Uganda. We in the NRM, the debate of who leads Uganda has never been about anyone in particular. It's not about any particular age group. In President Museveni's remarks, when the constitution had just been promulgated, he said in his remarks, if you can go back, he said, we are done with this constitution, but there are still some things that are not yet corrected. And these were brought in by the noise-making frogs of the day. And these are being sorted one by one. In the debate we had with the Honorable Babu before we came here, he said he disagreed with putting age limits in the constitution. And the noisemakers of the day said, no, we must lock some people out. Let's make it 75 because they were locking out a particular character, but history has proven them wrong. The question of having age limits, 35 to 75, is archaic to say the least. We should be apologizing to the whole world for having had such a law, 102B, in our own constitution. It will simply take us back ages. At this fora, UBC, the whole nation listening to us, and you hear Adupa saying, now the young generation must take over leadership. If you look at Franz Fanon, he said in 1959 when he was addressing that Black Congress that every generation must, out of obscurity, discover its mission and fulfill it or betray it. The mission we have as the young people of today is to identify our problems, not necessarily to give leadership, but to rally around the best leader to take us forward. And we as NRM, we have never said that Museveni and only Museveni. No. We have always said, what challenges do we have? The post-2026 agenda, we have challenges such as ensuring that our oil is dug from the ground, pipeline built, pipeline secured, oil goes to Tanga, to the refinery, a mini refinery in Hoima, and gas comes back. We take oil, we bring back gas. Okay. You are aware that President Ruto has just signed a deal to expedite the transferring of gas from Tanzania to Kenya to lessen the cost of gas in Kenya. We are quarreling about the environment. How will we protect our environment if we don't lower the cost of electricity, the cost of power, the cost of gas? It is through the pipeline. And we are saying the challenges of the post-2026 Uganda need an experienced leader. Uganda is not a theater. Uganda is not national theater. You know, a fundamental mistake was done
national theater is behind you here.
A fundamental mistake was done to put the Parliament of Uganda near national theater. So the best players, the best theater, the best people who make people laugh are sent to Parliament. This is the challenge we must address as a nation as we move forward. I think as Ugandans, we must move away from I don't want to call them frogs, but the analogy was brought here. The people who make noise most are not, they're not making it in the best interest of Uganda.
Adupa, are you guys engaging in theatrics and noise making? Do you think that you are the owners of the...
Candidates for La Bonita.
Actually, I really sympathize with my brother, Honorable Chitata. I think he suffers from lack of focus and particularities when he's submitting. And when he said I was out of order, I forgive him, but I would wish to inform him.
Just go to the issue. Go to the issue.
A week ago, him and his group, whom is saying that we should stop politicking and look at economic and social development, economic and social transformation of our country, instead of politicking, him and his group a week ago came out and have a sole candidate agenda. Okay? That day they did not talk about economic challenges that we are facing.
No.
You know, as we are here, there's somebody sleeping hungry without a food. Chitata did not discuss that. He looked at a sole candidate ahead of somebody who is sleeping.
He must have missed out on
now when he comes on a national television, he wants to be a priest of goodness. And then Dupas should be a priest of evil deeds. I think all the panel did not understand what I said earlier. I said, let us look at where the problem is coming from. We have got 3 stages here. And that is the genesis of the problem. People are going ahead speaking big English, not understanding the genesis of the problem. You cannot meet revolution.
Someone called Lois is asking that I want to ask Adupa, the emerging future, how do they fit and what do they learn from the proceeding and the present dominant?
The history has always been there. We have read history. Okay? We have read history. We have discussed about it. It is still going even to be taught in schools. Now, are you telling us we must live with a living history? Then what is the history of Nelson Mandela if he was still living up to today? You know, we must accept that there is a certain period of time that things cannot work the way we want. I have accepted and I've always said that I am a true supporter of His Excellency President Museveni Kaguta. He has done this country good. For all the years he has served as a president, he has done this country good. But there are certain things that need to be changed. Not necessarily only leadership. He's talking about the economic aspect of life. We are saying you have brought several projects which sometimes it has failed. You have brought Operation Well Creation. You have not accessed the impact of Operation Well Creation to our people. Before you know, you have brought PDM. As we speak now, do you know there is no any parish in this country that has benefited from PDM? We are in the second financial year, the second quarter.
Kitata, is that true? Not even in your place?
PDM.
Has anybody benefited so far?
PDM, all PDM money has been sent to the parishes.
Has anybody benefited? We are talking benefiting, and sending the money.
There is a process. There is a process. It's not a matter of benefit. There is a process.
You are in Kampala. You are in Kampala speaking too much English without facts.
No, the last money that was sent, 80 billion that was released to PDM by the Treasury, it has not yet even reached the parishes.
I'm a recipient
of reports. Has anybody in your parish of Luengo received the money?
I'm a recipient
so
of
far, how many seasons have those people planted their crops?
You're putting the horse.
You see, this is what we are talking about. These people goes and bring issues on board. Speak good English wherever they want to speak it. We are going to now make sure that everybody in this country benefit from this project. Before that project is assessed well, it has benefited so and so. We had NADS. Are we together? We are talking about social economic transformation.
My brother Dupa here
of a country,
is missing a very fundamental point.
Let me do this.
Charles Odongtho.
Just a minute. Just a minute.
I didn't interrupt.
Just a minute.
No, you're leading us astray. We must correct you and bring you back on the main road.
And the Kitata, first hold on.
Yes.
I want to take the opportunity to congratulate Honorable Paul Omara for making it from Mbale, and
he's done very well.
You know, he said he is a true African who believes in better late than never.
Yeah.
And we still thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Will not disappoint.
In our area, we call it chief guest mentality.
Yeah.
Chief guest.
Yeah, they arrive late and then the function begins.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Charles.
But there was a question for Honorable Babu. No, actually a comment. Charles, kindly let the Honorable Babu know that discussing politics without targeting employment opportunities for individuals is a fallacy. Politics deals with the distribution of power and authority, opportunities and resources. Anything that is outside this, we are pretending. This is someone called Akena Role from Lira City. But I thought that Honorable Babu actually said that politics is about opportunities
and resources.
But let me do this.
By the way, before we go very far,
there was something I want
this
to
gentleman
respond
should stop telling people what is not true. A PDM is a system, and there's a process, and it's got 7 pillars, and those 7 pillars must be reached. The money which has been sent was not enough initially because of our economy. But they are sending this money in tranches. And here is a chairman who's been receiving that money. Now he should tell us, when he received that money, where have they reached so far? But to sit in Kampala here and start rumor mongering is what I don't like. I don't like it. I disagree.
Let's follow a process. Let's follow a procedure. I wanted to, because you see what I do on the show is when there is something as important as a national issue like this, if there is someone, especially like a chairman of the district, who can give us, and also there is a member of the budget committee of parliament, they know, they follow these monies, an MP. I would want in 30 seconds, Kitaka,
thank you. You are aware
the monies come in your district to start with.
The president promised 100 million per parish. In Rwengo, at the end of last financial year, we had distributed only 7 million per parish because of the economy. I discussed the shortcomings of our economy, lessening from $1.2 billion to 570 million, but the economy is bouncing back. So the last tranche has been sent to our districts and received by the parishes.
How much was received by the parishes?
All parishes have received 30 million each in Rwengo, and we have 45 parishes. And the money is not simply for chewing. No, people have to be educated, people have to be made ready, people have to prepare, people have to use this money sustainably, because it's not political money for wasting. Choosing to excite Ugandans.
No, wait, don't go into the other issues.
Yes.
I want to ask Honorable Omara.
Yes.
As the budget committee, but also importantly, as an MP yourself, have the monies reached, and how much?
Thank you, Charles. Maybe just to inform our people outside there, the last financial year, 200 billion was provided under PDM. It was more experimental to see how it will perform. And that is what the chairman is talking about, that each parish received 7 million shillings. But this financial year, 2022-2023, we provided 1,059 billion. And so the money will be released in tranches. It will be 25 million per parish. Then it will be 50 million, then we will finalize with another 25 million. That would then make 100 million shillings per parish in a financial year.
Sent in 3 quarters.
It will be in 4, actually, in 3 tranches.
In 3 tranches. You
25,
say 25, 50, and then 25. That
because the last quarter they did not release the money.
Oh,
I think they have released it now in this quarter.
They have released.
They have released in this quarter.
Which started this month.
Yes. Yeah. Then they will do another 50.
In January.
Yeah. And then they will finalize with 25.
In April.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you very much.
It's a very important.
So have you followed from Otuke that this money, the 25 has reached them?
I haven't checked. You can see I've just come right now from an oversight visit by the budget committee. We're looking at some of the bigger projects which we have provided funds for, and so therefore after this then I will go to the constituency and see what's happening there.
Okay. Now I know that I am going to now limit these guys who were on the show already and just give you 1 or 2 minutes to make your comments on the transition debate. The topic being transition debate, is it the right time, or this transition stroke succession? You found very interesting comments made by your colleagues here. You actually missed.
I was in the car, Charles, and I listened to all of them.
Oh.
It was quite interesting. We had a big laugh during the
Good. So make
discussion.
some 2 comments, and then unfortunately TV time cannot be extended.
Yeah.
What we shall do after your comment, then I will do a round so that we finalize as we wind up the topic, the discussion.
Yeah, Charles.
What your thoughts are on the...
There are 2 words you've used there, transition and succession. I would want to agree with my elder, Honorable Babu, that when we transit from what to where. And I think for us as a country, given our turbulent history, I think we've made progress since then. And I think the question that we should be asking is, what kind of Uganda
do we need?
Is it that we want? When we establish those, for me, I think we need to have a more tolerant society. We need to ensure that we observe human rights. This is the Uganda we want. We want to have a social and economic transformation that works for everyone. We would want to ensure there's democracy in the country. We want to make sure that we fight tribalism. We make sure we have a Uganda which is more united. I tweeted, I think yesterday, when the picture of Haji Naduli has been everywhere. My heart goes out to the family for the loss of the son. And if you listen to the story, which is, he had a motor accident, but later on also because of reckless, pronouncements which he did, he was arrested, and it's an allegation of torture. Now, the Uganda I want is a Uganda where we tolerate each other.
Correct.
And don't, because of political differences,
unity.
We cause a loss of a young person like that. So let us transit from the kind of madness that we see into something which is very, very, very tolerant. So we need to have that conversation.
Yes.
I think it's the Uganda we want.
Correct.
The late Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, Jacob Olanya, may his soul rest in eternal peace. Before he passed on, I think he had actually made a pronouncement in Parliament that he was going to give us a reasonable period of time to discuss about the Uganda we want.
Correct.
We have never had that debate. I hope that we will have a moment to discuss about the future of this country. Then, of course, there's the big elephant in the room about succession. Of course, as we are all aware, we have never had a peaceful succession in the country from one leader to another. About 2 days ago, I was with the Honorable Amanya Mushega at the golf course, Uganda golf course. We had a very robust discussion about the country. And he gave, I think, the usual example he has given before. that in Tanzania, I think Nyerere had ruled for 19 years by about that period. And when he wanted to leave, many of the Politburo,
the people who wanted space.
Yes, they didn't want him to leave. They said, no, if you go, what will happen? What will happen to the country? And Nyerere insisted, said, no, I think it's the right time. I should leave. And the Honorable Amanya Mushaga said, when Nyerere stayed firm to his decision, the Honorable gentleman said, many of us who were very indifferent, who were urging him on to stay, we ran and picked the nomination forms for presidency. Now, I think in the Ugandan context, I think the conversation we should be having is, and I listened to Honorable Babu, where he said one of the things that Nyerere did was the grooming and development of leaders. I worked in Tanzania for 3 years. I was a banking executive there. They are always very certain about who will come next, or a set of leaders that are created for stability to keep the country going. Maybe the question we should be asking is, do we have certainty that after Muzee, we have a set of leaders that would be able to take this country forward?
To choose from.
To choose from. I think that should be the conversation. I listened to my younger brother. The conversation should not be about pushing the old people off.
No,
we should be able to say, who are the set of leaders, you know, amongst us, the best among us, should Muzee finally decide to say, no, I think I've served the country enough, and I would want you, the next set of leaders to come. You know, we should be able to say who are the amongst the best amongst us, who should be able to take us forward. And I think also,
and who should determine that? Who should answer that question? Who should answer that question?
Yes.
Is it just votes?
In CCM,
yes,
they have a group. After Nyerere left,
yeah,
that group has got a veto power.
Is it democratic?
Very democratic.
Does it? Or is it like the election of the? You just mentioned the election of
Rishi Sunak.
These guys in the UK,
yes,
where MPs just decide that this is going to be.
How democratic was it? It was very undemocratic.
Let me speak for the big party, the NRM.
Yes,
the NRM has its constitution. There is a Central Executive Committee that vets candidates, and then it comes to the NEC.
The SEC that rejected Honorable Babu.
It's not about rejecting.
We'll come to that.
SEC did what?
Now,
we had earlier ruled this man out of order.
I didn't know that you talk a lot of nonsense.
Okay. Honorable Babu, sorry about that.
No, I don't know what he was talking about.
Just hold on.
I left SEC by myself.
I thought your term expired. And which is okay. I don't know you're out of order there, but let Honorable Mara.
Normally people are pushed to submit.
No, I don't like this media terrorism. I'm used to it, and I'll reply to media terrorism.
Okay. Honorable Mara, go for it.
Yes. So I was talking about the NRM. So within the NRM, there's a constitution, and then secondly, there are mechanisms in which a presidential candidate would be elected. Now, personally, I believe that after General Yoweri Museveni, when he finally exits, there should be a transparent, this is my expectation, there should be a transparent, a democratic process where leaders can emerge, not only to offer themselves under the NRM for presidential leadership, but for the country. So a moment we espouse the spirit of democracy and say, you know, for us, for continuity and for stability, there should be a democratic process within the NRM so that a multitude of leaders can emerge and be vetted. And that's why I'm saying that we should focus and say, in every party, if so-and-so is no longer in a position, what set of leaders have we built from which we can choose a candidate? So I think that for NRM, it should be the conversation
and since you
that they
come
should
from
have.
the NRM, also help answer the question of where we used several analogies.
Yes.
And as you listened,
Yeah.
The main one being that the young people, and Professor referred to them very well, and
Yeah.
said the question should not, and another, I think also Honorable Babu, that the question is not about the youthfulness.
Yeah.
The question is about what you are offering.
Yes.
What is the issue that is on the ground in terms of the national need at the time?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
what are you offering?
Yes.
Do you have a plan? Do you have a strategy? Do you
Yes.
have a program? And then we asked ourselves, you know, has NRM as the ruling party, then followed by others, because if NRM as the leader cannot do it, the rest, you cannot demand that the rest do so. Has it shown by action that process of getting the certain or known leaders to emerge following is not seen, hence the anxiety, the push, the pressure, then the jumping around and that we are seeing all over the country, that now you move for us or we shall move you?
Charles, if you look not only in Uganda but within the region, there are certain leaders, because of history, because of a particular calling, they have enjoyed specific, how do I call it, leadership roles, and maybe love of country based on their uniqueness. I give you an example, Nyerere. Nyerere was not pushed out. He tried, after trying, he just said, this thing is not sifting. Let somebody else come and try. When he left, people came. Mzee Jomo Kenyatta died, you know, on the seat. Nelson Mandela decided, I think as a factor of age as well, said, after 5 years, I want to play with the grandchildren. Now, Mzee Kaguta Museveni, time will come, he will have now to say, saying, either as a factor of age, I think I have served this country well, and I've prepared a set of leaders, and that I believe will trigger in a more robust democratic process within NRM. Because at the moment now, if he stands there, many people fear to go and stand with him for, for that particular presidency. Not because maybe people fear, but I think out of respect and you know, because of his role, historical role, they'll say, if Mzee is still not there, I will not disturb. But the moment he gets out of the scene, then you will have 20 of us coming for this thing. So the question is, have we prepared enough of those leaders who have been tested in various areas, so that when the country is entrusted in their hands, they will be able to steer this country forward?
Okay.
So I think that is the big thing that needs to be sorted.
Okay, we've clocked our time really. Professor, our parting shots. Let's now. The time has ended when the topic is just beginning to pick up.
Give us 15 minutes.
Another Kisanja.
Another Kisanja, Charles. Another Kisanja.
This another Kisanja is becoming too much. You guys are about to ask for God to push time from 24 to 26 hours in a day.
If we
and you know God's case has no appeal.
No appeal.
So we are remaining with 24. And the 24 has just ended. So Professor,
yes,
way forward for this. We have agreed at least on one thing, that it is a good topic to have now, but way forward.
Yes, thank you very much. I think way forward, as I said before, first of all, let us avoid comparing things. It's good to compare across space and across time.
Yeah.
That's why historicization is important, contextualization is important.
Yeah.
But we should also not get lost, should not lose the specifics of our context. I like the examples of Tanzania, but I would like to remind us Tanzania is not Uganda. The processes that have formed Uganda have been fairly different from Tanzania. Number two, we have a constitution which allows anyone to stand. Last year we had His Excellency standing. We also had President Katumba standing. Please, anyone who wants to stand.
I had forgotten about him.
Katumba.
Candidate John Katumba stood.
Yes.
So anyone who wants to stand,
Famously known as Katumba
please,
Oil.
you're free to stand and offer yourself for leadership. And then I want to say that...
But they should, but meaning that they should not argue that you first live for us.
No, it is not either or. Feel free, join the fray. The Constitution allows everybody. The other thing is that what I want to say is that the continent is undergoing decolonization, and we should make sense of our history and borrow what was good in it and bring. And this goes to reinforcing the issue of the national dialogue and what does this country want and where should we all go. And then we talk about nurturing leaders. It's a very good thing. And I want to say there have been several efforts at nurturing leaders. You know, it could be good that CCM has a crop from which it brings. If Uganda can have a crop, well and good. If Uganda cannot have a crop, how do we multiply that crop so that at the time alternatives have to be picked, we shall not be short of alternatives? The government has invested in education. If the education program is not working, there's right now a curriculum process taking place. Let's take our views there and say what we don't like about the education system. PDM and everything economic is taking place. If there are things we don't like there, let us raise them. At household level, that's supposed to resolve that. There are issues in agriculture. We have a very fertile country, but also continue suffering food insecurity. Let us also raise those things so that as the population grows, as economics improve, as the statuses improve, we shall have a good breed of people who can be chosen, who can emerge from any corner. And maybe finally, I can say, of course, there's a biblical verse which always warns us about woe unto you if your land is managed by a child, whose king is a child, Ecclesiastes 10:16. This was not necessarily against children, but it talks about lack of experience. I teach many younger people, and one of the papers I teach is gender and politics. And one of the things you ask, when did Uganda get independence? People don't have a clue, okay? When did this happen? People don't have a clue. You are not going to manage this country if you don't know where it's coming from and where it is going. We can shoot our way to power, and maybe we will, but we also have to learn from other parts of the world where people have shot to power or have changed systems without plans. Libya is there for us to see. There is Iraq, there is Syria. There are many of these scenarios. So let us develop the political system we want based on the needs of this country, and then see if that can apply. And my parting shot really is, let us know what Uganda is. Let us identify ourselves. One of the things I do, other than being a gender dean, I'm also a center of excellence in notions, in a center of excellence in African identities. What is African? Can we bring the African back to the center of our lives? So what is African about us? What were African political systems like? What were African legal systems? The interesting thing I borrowed from University of Ghana is that before any student in the university goes to their courses that they have been selected for, they first do African studies. This was a program developed by Kwame Nkrumah. And in it you study African political systems, you study African philosophy, African legal systems, African socioeconomics. So the first bits of the semester you do that. After you do that, then you go into your medicine, your law and everything, but when you have understood where your country is going. So we may be modern, we may be trendy, but if we don't know who we are, we shall continue aping, we shall ape so many things. Some things will work for us, many things will not work for us. So thank you very much for this opportunity. Let's have a national dialogue of what Uganda needs, but let us plan with and debate with Uganda in mind, not simply cropping things, cut and paste and bring it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. You sound really professorial. And thank you. Adupa, in 1 minute, way forward.
Thank you very much, Charles. My way forward is very simple. We may need to leave theological politics and go into practical politics. It is a broader perspective. One, Paul has talked about human rights. It should not be said every day, year in, year out. Let's protect fundamentals of human rights and so on, and dignity and so on and so forth. Let it be practiced. Okay? That is way forward of changing things. You don't talk about it, but people must see it is happening. Are we together? Number two, national dialogue is very important. Honorable Francis Babu has talked about it. However, he got annoyed, I apologize, but I wanted to give some input on his fate at the same. National dialogue is very important. We are in a country whereby everybody is bitter. People from Kasese is bitter. People from northern Uganda is bitter. People from central Uganda is bitter. Everybody is bitter. Now, we need a national dialogue. And I'm very happy I had a discussion with the Minister for Justice. I think one of his duties is to form a national dialogue whereby people should talk about the things. People should have a reconciliation. We should heal and forgive one another so that we can move forward and realize a new Uganda. The last way forward is that much as my elders are talking about us talking about the age and we are trying to kick certain group of people outside, we are not saying we are kicking certain age groups of people outside the system. That is not the issue. But I am reminding them that we made a mistake earlier. You cannot say that we are going to groom you. You can't groom an adult for 50, 60 years before giving him or her opportunity to do something. Are we together? So we need to groom and deploy. This is what I'm talking about. I am not saying do away. That's why when your father is at home, it reaches a certain time, they said, Omara Paul, you are ready to get married. Start looking for a wife. Are you seeing that? Yeah. So that you can go and get married. But you don't bring a child at home, take him or her to school, you leave the child live with you at home until you die and say, okay, now I have died, you take over my estate. You groom and deploy. This is what we are talking about. So the reason why these youth are coming up, because you have groomed them, you have nurtured them politically. But you have not deployed them. And at the end of the day, you haven't deployed them. And you want them to come to you and say, yes, Mzee, yes, sir, and so on and so forth. So the way forward, groom them, deploy them, so that they can see there is a future. Mzee is thinking and is planning for us. Yesterday he married for Okelo. Let me be.
Let me also wait. They are going to now marry for me.
My child is going to
I like the analogy though.
So all of the Babu and my brothers, it is not about kicking the proceeding part, but proceeding first must protect the interest of the emerging future and the present dominant.
Thank you very much.
For all of us, nobody is going anywhere.
He has chosen biology. I also choose biology. I choose analogies from the analogies I find on table. When you go to metabolism of ruminants, the process begins from the mouth. There is the rumen, that's the first intestine. Then after chewing the grass, it goes to the rumen, then goes to the reticulum, it goes to the abomasum and the omasum. But when in the night, we normally see our cattle chewing cud without taking fresh grass from the land. The cattle is chewing unprepared grass to prepare it to transition to the reticulum, abomasum, and later omasum. My brother,
can you bring it down?
Let me now break it down to your normal English. Analogy. Yes, we must prepare. We appreciate the efforts done by President Museveni to prepare this generation and this country. Uganda is unique in its own way. We are thankful to his enormous contribution and sacrifice to this country. His grandchildren, the Bazukulu, today led by Namyalo, appreciate where Uganda has come from, and this is well illustrated in the preamble to the Grand Norm, the Constitution of Uganda. We believe we still need his team under his wise leadership to lead us through the current challenges. And should they not be solved in 2026?
Remember, they are talking about 2026. They are not talking about now.
And I'm saying, should the current challenges be still at the fore of what we face as a nation, we don't see a better goal scorer than President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. We appreciate he has been here for long, and that's a blessing from God. We need him to lead us into the great conversation of uniting our people, the great conversation of securing our oil, the great conversation of ensuring that we have a peaceful transition, the great conversation of breaking the cycle of violence, state-inspired violence by the army to change leaders. We believe he is the best person placed to lead that conversation, and that will be after 2026.
Thank you very much. Honorable Babu.
Thank you very much.
Way forward.
I think we better be very clear. There are people in this country who would like to see a change from the present leadership of the presidency to another person. There is a number of people. And we cannot deny this. The question is, how do you do it? And I think this is where everybody's going wrong. There are two ways you can do it. Either the present leader uses the Nyerere method and says, time has come, I now would like to hand this over to another leader within his party. That is one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is for the whole party going to Nambole in their national conference, and they bring up new candidates to stand against him, or he says, no, I'm not standing this time, but let other people stand. Then that party can get us a leader. Now, you have been talking about other parties. The ruling party is the biggest in this country. It has got the resources. It should set an example. Now, that is the change we are talking about. Now, a lot of people, when they're talking about change, they're talking about the change of moving one group to another group there. No, we are saying, yes, you want change, but how do we do it? Now, my best suggestion, really, after nearly 35 years, our leader could do the Nyerere version by saying time has come, we now need a new leader, and within the crops, because this business of saying that people have been prepared, they have not got jobs, that's not true. All the local government have got councillors. You're starting from the sub-county, you go up to the district, there are leaders there. In fact, by the way, when my great friend passed on, the speaker, and I had his local council debate, I was impressed. One of the best debates I've had from a local council. These are groomed leaders. When you talk about grooming, those are groomed. That means they can go from there and go to parliament. So anybody who says there are no areas where these people have been deployed, they are already deployed in all these councils. Right? And leaders are there. Others have been deployed in their parties. There are people in parties who have changed, they have formed even new parties. All this is part of grooming. You cannot say it's not there. So, all I am saying, right now, if you want to change immediately, and this is the impatience I keep talking about.
The anxiety.
The anxiety, the impatience.
Entitlement.
How do the entitlement? We're entitled.
The young people.
And I keep on telling them, you are actually part of the society.
But you know that it is, sorry that to have kept you on that. Can we spare the young people and remove those words of entitlement, they are impatient, they are anxious? Because, Honorable Babu, you and your age group, when you got impatient, you decided to go to the bush.
No.
These young people are saying, let's go and remove you from the ballot. Are they not better?
No, these guys were pushed into the bush. They did not become impatient. They were pushed into the bush, which is different.
So when
that time the dynamics were different. Excuse me, the dynamics were different.
But if you provide me with the ballot paper and the box, and I go with you transparently, fairly, and I remove you through the ballot,
you've got a good argument, but I wanted you to see how they were pushed into that area. They were pushed from 1966. The one after the other, it was pushing. One group would push another one, another group would come in, and it was a pushing of groups.
The order of the day.
It was the order of the day. But we have passed that stage. In these last few years, we have managed to stabilize, and we need to find another system to be able to achieve what we want to achieve. Okay. The professor put it very nicely. We need to do it for the sake of our country. And I wanted to, people I think they don't understand what they're saying. Politics is management of society. Full stop.
True. Thank you very much, Honorable Babu. Finally, Honorable Mara, 1 minute.
Charles,
Way forward.
Charles, we cannot deny the fact that the young people are pushing. There is that anxiety there. As leaders, we need to understand what their needs are.
Especially you in NRM.
And I have...
even UPC?
Even in UPC, there are trouble. Even DP.
One transition.
As Paul joined NRM, I check was an independent candidate.
Let me go to my younger brother. They have the MK. And he's one of the key players. The last time I read in our constitution, the UPDF Act and also the constitution, if you are still in uniform, you have to remain apolitical. And what is very important is that if we want the stability that we're talking about and the rule of law, then we must hold everybody to the highest standard of the law. So if anybody wants to run for presidency, then the most important thing is get out of the uniform.
For starters.
Yes, that's number one issue. And it's actually within his right to stand.
Yes.
But the most important thing is, the UPDF has been built with a lot of, how do I call it, discipline, sacrifice, and so forth. And if there is any most disciplined and respected institution in this country is UPDF. And I've just come from Mbale, but we went through Jinja and seeing what the NEC, the construction unit of UPDF is doing, is going to be better than ROCO. So if you take them into terms of fighting, they are very good. Strategy, they are keeping peace within the region. Now they're helping us in building infrastructure. So that's a great army. So let's not bastardize it. We must make sure we keep the army intact. I was discussing with some of the people, like in Malawi, for example. I was in Malawi when the president passed on, Professor Mutharika, when he passed on. Joyce Banda was the deputy president, or what's the language? Not deputy, vice president. But they had fallen apart with the president. What happened was, the ruling party now is saying, but that lady was not liked by our leader. She was far away. Let's see how best we can throw her away and have a continuity. Do you know the institution that kept Joyce in power was the military. The military said, the politician, we are the vanguard of the state. The constitution says when the president passes on, the vice president becomes the president. He sent the army to protect the vice president. The police chief was trying to bring in some confusion. He sent the army to say, my friend, you're under house arrest. And he kept the constitution of Malawi and the stability of that country.
I thought you were talking about Tanzania, sorry.
No, Malawi. Now, so it is very, very important for us to uphold the rule of law, to abide by the constitution, no matter who you are.
Okay.
If we do that, then we are going to have a very peaceful transition of power. And so the point I was making was that the young people are becoming very anxious. We need to be mindful about that and say they still have an avenue. And by the way, even within NRM, you can mobilize, as my senior here has said, and offer yourself as a candidate for consideration within NEC. Nobody has stopped anybody. The door is open. So you go in, offer yourself, you'll be vetted. If you are a good candidate, you'll compete.
Okay.
Yeah, so that there should be no gray area about that one.
Thank you very much.
So we hope that we will have a transition into the Uganda we want, and I've talked about the parameters, and most importantly, the succession within the NRM will happen at a particular point.
Thank you very much, Honorable Paul Omara, MP Otuke. Thank you very much, Honorable Francis Babu. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to have you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kitata, all the way from Luengo, I really appreciate. And later, early in the morning today, you told me that you will be hosting the Minister for Local Government.
Yes, Honorable Raphael Majezi. Yes.
Thank you very much, and pass our greetings to him, and he will understand. He watches this program, he's a fan, so he will understand if you're late for the meeting.
I'll be early. I'll be early to welcome my boss.
Thank you very much, Felix Adupa Ongwech, and of the Transformers Cadres Coalition Group. Continue pushing. For me, I actually support you and your group. Continue pushing them. Through the ballot, and Honorable Babu is not an easy push. In ideas, he is still versatile, so be ready for the idea discussion.
We will consult him when we leave here. So, Honorable Babu, you are not out of the discussion. You will be consulted as an expert.
No, we are done with the discussion.
Thank you very much, Professor Sarah Sali. And gentlemen and ladies out there, kindly, we need to take caution about Ebola. The Ministry of Education Health warning, Ebola is with us, and please do those most important basic needs. Wash your hands with soap and clean water frequently. Ensure you sanitize if you don't have water and soap nearby. But most especially, avoid a lot of body interactions, especially with if there is a suspicion anywhere near. Be careful and try as much as possible to avoid body contact, physical contact, and hugs and all that kind of thing, shaking hands. Try to avoid them because Ebola is with us. And for Kampala people, just know that you are not safe either. In the last 2 weeks, many people have been saying it is far, it is in Mubende. Ebola is right here in Kampala as well. So let's look after each other and ensure that we are all safe. There is on Friday, I want to invite many of you, including some of you, the panelists. On Friday, there is the West Nile Education Trust Fund, which is going to have an annual grand fundraising. And we will have a keynote presentation by none other than Professor Balunywa. And Balunywa Waswa of MUBS is going to talk about the benefit of education, especially science, because the West Nile Education Trust Fund comes together to support the needy and those who are vulnerable, but who want to do sciences. So they pick the most needy in society. It is an initiative that is worth supporting. It will be at the golf course and hotel. The chief guest will be the Honorable Anita Annette Among, the Speaker of Parliament. And an individual is only 100,000. And then if you want to buy a table for 10 people, it is 1.5 million. That's for the VIP guest and the table. But this is a very good cause that we need to all support. So congratulations to that team from the West Nile Education Fund. We will support you. Me, I will be there. I sure.
Don't miss St. Jude. We are praying on the last day of the novena for 9 days. We've been praying for this country.
I talked about it last time. So when is it ending?
It is ending on Friday with the Archbishop. And starting at 10 o'clock.
Okay.
And we'll pray for you so that you can get more money for the West Nile group.
Oh, that's good.
Not only
that's
that,
good.
we will also pray for the country.
Yeah.
Especially because of Ebola. And I think everybody should attend. We'll be at Naguru Church, St. Jude Church.
St. Jude,
and the Archbishop will be...
St. Jude novena thing is a great thing. I have attended whenever I could.
Yes.
I pray that I can come in the morning.
Yes.
Then in the afternoon, I am for the West Nile
after praying, you will get the money.
Education Fund.
After praying with St. Jude, you will get the money.
Okay. I'm going to, after this, I'm going to ensure that I talk to you guys so that you can also come for both of them, actually. Otherwise, thank you very much. Thank you very much to Margaret, our technical handler, and our producer, Etiang Thomas, and the entire team that helps to ensure that this show comes your way, especially Morris and Odoch, Fred, and the rest of the team, the engineers that ensure that this show comes your way every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Otherwise, good night. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Решение каких-то военно-политических задач.
Это направляющая от того выстрела гранатомета РПГ-7, который упал ко мне на крышу. Часть мины 120-й. За последние сутки было нанесено порядка 50 ударов по территории города.
Да люди видят, вот, подойдите вы в это общежитие, они видят, как с того берега летит.
1 сентября, когда господин Гросси еще вместе с представителями Росатома ходил непосредственно по территории Запорожской атомной станции, весь материал был предоставлен. То, что именно с Украины сюда прилетают снаряды, беспилотные летательные аппараты.
Игры с атомными объектами всегда очень печально заканчиваются.
Если произойдет определенная цепная реакция, то я думаю, что земному шару спешить уже некуда будет. Здесь это затронет не только Европу, затронет весь мир.
The eradication for the colonization and Germanization of Eastern Europe. The plan involved about 80% being killed or relocated.
Мы должны развить технику обезлюживания. Если вы спросите меня, что я понимаю под обезлюживанием, я скажу, что имею в виду устранение целых расовых единиц. И это то, что я намерен осуществить. Это, грубо говоря, моя задача. Одна из главных задач немецкой государственной деятельности на все время – предупредить всеми имеющимися в нашем распоряжении средствами дальнейшее увеличение славянской расы. Предупредить.